Okay, chat, I think it's time to play pretend. Okay? Let's play pretend. Let's make up a stellar support. So, new support. Chat, what's the stereotypical Russian name? Ivan. Ivan Vlad. That's his name. That's Ivan Vlad. New support, Ivan John Vodka. Wait, that's so much better. John Vodka. That's so much better. You're right. You're right. I bow to your creative juices. That's amazing. John Vodka. Anyways, so his kit is Stellar Conduct support. He gives 200 EM. He gives 20% shred. He gives 30% Stellar Conduct damage. Yeah? And the 14% multiplier. That's kind of stacked, no? I mean, this is, like, worse than Linnea. But, like, also, it's kind of different. Because, like, yeah, whatever. And, like, healer. No, not healer. Shielder. So that Wriothesley can use it. And, like, 2k DPS. Okay? This is our assumption for John Vodka. Just so that we can make comparisons between Sandrone and Cyno. 2k is not 2026 level support. It's a 4-star. The 20% shred is from the artifact set. It's a 4-star. Actually, they wouldn't have the... No. Okay, never mind. It's a 5-star. They wouldn't make the 4-star enable it. Whatever. It's fine. This is just so that we can compare Sandrone to Wriothesley and Cyno to see the gap with the assumption that you're allowed to play Cyno and Wriothesley without Sandrone. So, instead of Escoffier, we would have John Vodka. And I will put this in color. This is too bright, right? I'll put this in color just so that it's clear, it's eye-catching, and we know that like there's an imposter in this cow. Okay? Whatever. Like news on the vodka set. 5. Because obviously 5. It would be a 5-star. So, we got a 5-star burst animation, unless we just don't use a burst. Maybe we don't use a burst. We look at a 20-second rotation length. We look at shred 1.05. But this time, Yai gets it as well. Because it would be Electro and Cryo. We get Stellar Conduct damage. We said it's 30. We get 200 EM. And we get the 14% reaction multiplier. So this is 1.28. We go to 170 from 135, so plus 35k. And we can compare this to Wriothesley. I don't know if I have any Wriothesley calcs here. I'll just make a new one. So instead of Sandrone, will be Wriothesley. Would Wriothesley have less stacks than Sandrone? Probably, right? But not like that much less. Maybe 2 stacks less. Wriothesley on Widsith on Shadow. Okay. Then we remove all of this, and we remove the team-wide bonus from Sandrone, which is the 14% reaction bonus here. And then we can take a look how Wriothesley compares here. Was this the best Wriothesley team? I mean, it was, like, good enough, right? As a core. Nicole was better. That makes sense. Right, we can't bring Chi-Chi at all. We need to lose TOM. We obviously remove Sandrone. The 14% can stay because we didn't add the one from John Vodka. We add the 30% here from John Vodka. We add the 200 EM from John Vodka. We add the shred from John Vodka. We said 2k DPS from John Vodka. Nicole is like at 2 DPS, let's be honest. And then we have Wriothesley, Widsith on Shadow set. Yeah, stacks will also be lower here. They're like 7 stacks. Have we added the crit from Widsith? Yeah. No. Wait a second. Uh-oh. How many of these calcs don't have Widsith crit on Yai? Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem. Oh no. This cannot be my TC. That's embarrassing. Man. It was probably when I rebuilt this sheet, though. For the latest version. John Vodka fixed my calcs, yeah. Okay, so the gap between having Yai and not having Yai is even bigger. Oh, man. That's rough. Okay. You have the crit to Wriothesley? Not yet, I think. Yeah. Yeah, so the difference is about 10% with John Vodka. You put 1.28 for the Sandrone one? I believe I did. Yeah, I did. If John Vodka gives a lot of stacks, the difference could be even less. That's true, yeah. Why Nicole? Wriothesley can't use healers. It breaks his kit. So you can't use Chi-Chi. Can't use Iona. And we're assuming that John Vodka has a little bit of shred, so Escoffier isn't very good. What if John Vodka heals? John Vodka would never heal. Alright? Like, big alcohol would tell you otherwise, but it's actually bad for your health to drink a lot. But yeah. Like, obviously if you don't have Wriothesley, you don't have Cyno, and you want to make a stellar team, you will want to get Sandrone or the new one. But it's just weird. Like, the fact that the Yai banner has the other characters on there is, yeah. Yeah, like, I guess there is also the possibility that until Tsaritsa comes out, they don't actually give us a stellar enabler as a 5-star, and instead, they just give it to MC and they make MC dog shit. So Sandrone doesn't want to use them on the team, and needing to use them on the team makes the Wriothesley team worse, and the Cyno team worse. Like, that's another possibility. And by the way, like, this kit that we made for John Vodka is very powerful. I wouldn't be surprised if the John Vodka turns out to be worse than that. I just wanted to have a relatively generic kit so that I could compare them. Is this kit more favorable to Wriothesley? It's the same to both, really. Sandrone is getting a new set, a new free-to-play weapon at least. Yeah, but like, here's the thing, alright? This is Sandrone DPS on Tidal Shadow. Let's take a look at what would happen if she could use Prospector's Drill, or Prospector's Shovel. Prospector's Shovel. Because, like, if we get a Claymore that has this passive for Stellar instead of Lunar. So instead of 48% attack, you get 48%, yeah, multiplier. This shit's worse. Like, Tidal Shadow's not bad. She can proc it. Tidal Shadow is not bad. Like, we already have a craftable that's like a modern craftable in terms of its power level that works with her kit. So she very well might not need, or might not. I think it's very possible that the Claymore ends up being a support Claymore or a dog shit one, like rightful reward or something. I could see the full premium team not having healers. Maybe. Alright, should we take a look at Cyno as well? Okay, Cyno would probably have more stacks than Wriothesley. He just has more application. Wriothesley's application is getting significantly hurt by the Stellar stuff because the Stellar replaces his cryo application. Cyno doesn't get affected by it nearly as much. So the Cyno team would probably be at like 9 stacks. Although you wouldn't use Nicole in Cyno team, right? You would just use Chi-Chi. So it's probably just at 11, just like Sandrone. So we lose a Sandrone buff to the team, which is just the EM multiplier being higher. And instead we get Cyno. Energy, rotation. Okay, energy we're gonna pretend like is not a problem ever. I'm pretty sure if you don't burst on Cyno, like the stuff ends up being a lot slower, so you probably do need a little bit of energy, but like I need to test it to be sure, honestly. So probably like a 21-second rotation if you want to get 3 eyes. Is 21 even enough? Hopefully. We're gonna pretend like it is. Cyno on Deathmatch Shadow set. We've already removed the 14%, so you can just send Cyno stuff. Cyno has so many different lines. Do I have an old Cyno calc? Like, aww. It's so little damage. All of this thing together is so little damage. It feels so stupid to add so many lines for like 1 extra damage. I guess this is probably enough lines if we just have full buff uptime, which we actually could if John Vodka has high buff uptime in this team. So sure, fair enough. Maybe Chi-Chi buff falls off at the end, but we're gonna pretend like it doesn't. It's fine. He could use the help, yeah. 318, 454. Okay, we also lose Cryo Resonance uptime. We basically have none. John Vodka will have a passive saying if your character was released before 2025 replaces all buff at 28 electro cryo damage. Damn. That would not be very nice. What do we get for attack? His kit doesn't give any attack. So we have main stat, substat, weapon is 24. We don't have this. We do have the set. Crit value. Instead of this, we have 36.8 times 2. And that's it. Damage percent. Gonna be the same as Wriothesley. No more stacks, but so it's a little bit higher, but it's the same sources. Elemental Mastery. Wriothesley gets 80 from Deathmatch. Instead of that, we get 100 from Burst, and that's it. We get C1 as well, right? C1 is 200 EM. Doesn't Wriothesley have Witsith damage percent? He does. Doesn't matter, man. This is the Electro doesn't do any damage, but you're right. You're right. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. We have Yai. We have... What was this? What was this 50? Chi-Chi. We have this set. And we have John Vodka. Effective attack. Effective attack. Stellar Conduct. We will also need effective EM. As well as effective EM. Stellar Conduct. Motion value, and probably copy a part of that from this old sheet. I mean, that's just the whole combo, right? That's 5 and 1s, 5 and 2s, 5 and 3s, 5 and 4s, 2 and 5s. Right, so it's 3 and 4s, 4 and 5s. It doesn't really matter that much, right? Like, I'm sure there's combo optimization to be found that's gonna make a tiny little difference overall. But it's probably more about the electro application lining up with stack timer than anything else. EM motion value stellar conduct. It's 200, right? So take this thing. So we get 200 times 3 times 2, and that's it. Does that make sense? No, times 2 times 3. And then the EM motion value is 600 times 3 times 3. Damage stellar. Fucking hell. This used to be his main source of damage. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Oh, man. Mighty? I mean, if V1 Cyno, like, worked the same way, but with the current stellar stuff, he'd be really fucking strong, actually. Am I forgetting anything? This feels a little low. You changed EI hits? I did not increase EI hits, no. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, that's a bigger gap than I thought. Are the stacks correct? They should be. Is that C0? So I don't know. It's C1. I mean, maybe we can stick to 20. Like, it's probably fine, I guess. Probably not, but whatever. Who cares? I feel like Cyno wasn't behind Wriothesley, though. So, did I fuck something up? He was very slightly behind. Yeah. 200 EM. Yeah, I have the 200 EM from C1. I didn't give it to Yai, because I don't know if you can actually give it to Yai. Guys at Cyno at like 104 and Wriothesley at 108. Yeah, this gap is larger. What teams does he use for both of them, actually?
During the course of...
Yeah, he uses Nicole. I guess, like, he has a personal DPS from Cyno higher than Wriothesley. And I do not, like, at all with this. But I took a lot of shortcuts in these calcs, like, just copy-pasting stuff, so I probably just missed something. Maybe Chi-Chi's just a fraud here, actually. That might be what the problem is. Because both of these characters' attack is very low, right? Oh, I don't have the TOM. I do have it here, though. Right, because, like, the main thing that Chi-Chi provides is the reaction damage bonus. But we gave John Vodka a kit that does basically the same thing. So that would make Chi-Chi a lot worse. Yeah, okay. That's what it was. That makes sense. Oops. Oh, stacks as well, though. You're right. But it's still closer. But now this gap is a lot more in line with, Yeah, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so it's a very interesting dynamic where, like... Okay, actually, I have an idea. We're gonna make a John Vodka slider, okay? EM, shred, stellar conduct damage, and DPS. 200, 20%, 30%. It's trying to autocomplete. And it's like, she. But this line is just, she. She. Might as well make a line for attack percent as well. Attack percent 0. Okay. Sandrone. Now, we have Sandrone plus John Vodka. Wriothesley plus John Vodka. Cyno plus John Vodka. Now, so, we can now insert a graph. Is Sandrone worth it when John Vodka is right around the corner? But yeah, so like this just like properly signify, like, if John Vodka ends up being complete dog shit and it's actually just like Cryo Traveler that does it, right? Like, it would be a downgrade to Sandrone's current teams. So being forced to run John Vodka for Wriothesley, for Cyno, would be no different from using Sandrone instead. So they would obviously be a lot worse with John Vodka. But the stronger John Vodka is, the more it starts looking, right? The more of the up arrows you click here, especially the shred up arrow, right? Like, just having 10% shred is like plus 10% to everything, right? I mean, obviously, 10% is 10%. Wow, crazy. But if we give John Vodka a kit that I think is like pretty reasonable to expect out of an upcoming premium support, right? Something like 20% shred, 30% stellar damage, and 200 EM, right? All of a sudden, I mean, maybe this is a bit too strong, but like, even at 150 EM, even at 100 EM, or if instead of 100 EM, you give like 20%, 30% attack, something like that, you start looking at scenarios where if you end up getting Wriothesley or Cyno trying to go for Yai, getting John Vodka and using Wriothesley carry, or using Sandrone carry, is just actually going to be better than pulling for Sandrone. 10% credit above 10% on the enemy is a true multiplier of 10. Not exactly, because you're not starting from 0 and going to 10. You're starting from minus 10 and going to 0. So it's actually like 11% true multiplier. But yeah, so like the value of Sandrone as a pull is effectively just going to be very dependent on, one, obviously, if you have Wriothesley or Cyno or not, and two, on which character is the support that enables Stellar Conduct. Is it going to be the shitty character that Sandrone doesn't even want to run on their team? Or is it going to be the premium 5-star? And this is all because of Yai. Honestly, this is all Yai's fault. The fact that Yai doesn't enable Stellar holds these units back so much. So now we can take a look at, if you do end up getting Wriothesley or Cyno, how getting their Sig or getting a Constellation on them compares to getting Sandrone, right? Because that's going to be the case for a bunch of people. Anyone who already has Wriothesley or Cyno and that wants to go for Yai, or already has Yai, as well as anyone who is going to go on the Yai banner and lose their 50-50 for Wriothesley or Cyno, is going to be in that scenario where they have Yai, they have Wriothesley or Cyno, and getting Sandrone would require as many wishes as getting a con. How good is Cyno's C2 again? Was it better than Sig? I don't remember. It wasn't, right? What about Wriothesley's C1? If I remember correctly, his C1 was not great. His C2 was just a good one. So I think you're supposed to go Sig on both, right? For one extra cost. Yeah, so this is 542. We lose a 24% attack. We lose the attack main stats. Nicole might not be better anymore, but I am not bothering to change that. It shouldn't be like that big of a difference. Nicole might still be better, honestly. EM plus 187 times 2. Crit 44.1. And flat attack is 80 plus, so 136% of his EM. Cryo Resonance might be better than Nicole here. I don't think Cyno gets good uptime on Cryo Resonance. Like, when he uses the skill, I think that the electro damage part of it hits before the Stellar Conduct. So the Stellar Conduct damage just doesn't have the extra crit from Cryo Resonance. And then it's doing literally nothing for the team. And that's assuming you have Cryo on the enemy to begin with, which might not even be the case, right? So I don't think Cryo Resonance would do anything for Cyno. Anyways, we have Sig, we gave the crit, we removed the attack percent from deathmatch, we gave the flat attack. And then Wriothesley, we are starting from Witsith here, so 674, we lose the Witsith attack percent, we lose the Witsith damage percent, we lose the Witsith EM. What do we gain? We gain, and we lose the Witsith crit, instead we get the new crit, which is 22.1 times 2. Okay, 16% attack. There's some damage percent that doesn't matter. Okay, we're not going to separate normal and charge attack damage. He actually doesn't even deal charge attack damage, right? Yeah. So 16% times 3 for damage percent. And then stellar damage is 42. And then we also have a little bit of attack speed. I don't think you do more attacks. I think you just like do your rotations half a second faster, basically. And now we have Cyno R1 plus John Vodka. Wriothesley R1 plus John Vodka. Wriothesley, or Cyno R1 plus John Vodka. Anyways, the point I wanted to make by adding these here is if we bring all these values to 0. Okay, so the values wouldn't be 0. If we look at like the assumption that Cryo MC ends up being the one that enables the field, and Cryo MC is not a very good character, but it's still like meant to be used in stellar teams. So you have like a similar power level to what you got out of like Dendro MC versus Naida and stuff like that, right? What would be like a reasonable amount to get from... Yeah, like we were assuming that the vodka set is just 20% shred. If that's literally all you get... No, because you could give that set to the Sandrone team too. So no, that's not really true. Make it Aino. Yeah, sure. Let's actually have... what if John Vodka is like Aino? So we get like about 100 EM. C0 Aino equivalent. If you have Cyno, getting R1 is about as good as getting Sig. C6 Cyno equivalent. It's pretty noticeably better. Well, I guess it's Cyno C1 that gives the EM. Whatever, who cares? But yeah, the point I'm getting at here is like, right now, because they have a completely dead slot, Wriothesley and Cyno are worse than Sandrone, and if you end up getting them, either because you already had them, or because you lost a 50-50 going for Yai to them, getting Sandrone is like the best return on investment for your primos in the short term, like to make your account better at dealing with stellar content. But in order for that to stay the case, the stellar conduct support would have to be complete dog shit. Even Aino would be enough to make it so that the best return on investment, if you have Cyno or Wriothesley, is actually their Sig over getting Sandrone. Now that doesn't mean you shouldn't get Sandrone just because you have Wriothesley or Cyno. But it is interesting. And it does, like, give a bit of insight as to how you should think about Sandrone if you're someone who actually likes one of these two alternative carries. It's also, yeah, like, unironically, this is, like, good balance, question mark? Like, actually, like, surprisingly, like, this is good balance. Like, this is a good thing. What, John Vodka be a healer? Yeah. It is pretty funny that Cyno is worse at Wriothesley, but Sig Cyno is better than Sig Wriothesley because the Sig diff is, like, so big. What about Sandrone with Sig? I mean, Sandrone with Sig would be better, obviously. But then you would have to compare it to C2 Wriothesley with Sig, or something like that. Yeah, like, for context, should I add a crit buff line? I could. And we could, like, look at what some of the, like, current supports, if they were available and they enabled the stellar reaction, would do. Nobody ever buffs crit. I mean, I could see a 4-star being a crit buffer at C6. I would need Lua equivalent. Yahoda, true. But yeah. Isn't Wriothesley needing Nicole a big deal for this cost comparison? That's fair enough, I suppose. What would be the best alternative to Nicole if you want to play these teams? Like, Yansan, maybe? 121 instead of 129? It's not that big of a difference. It's like 4% worse? 5% worse? Because there's a lot of rounding with the numbers I said. It's close to 122. It's like 5 point something, I think. 5-ish%. Well, it's 5% in respect to the team DPS of this. So it's a little bit more than 5% then. With Yansan. I didn't add them less. It's actually really close. Oh, that is very close, actually. Wriothesley doesn't move a lot. I think he moves enough to maintain above 42, because his uptime isn't the longest. And you can swap directly from Yansan to him. And you do dashes after each charge attack. Maybe you just dash backwards intentionally, like you do with Arlecchino, to maintain Yansan stuff, but I'm not sure. Add 1 second of the rotation? We don't really need to do that. Yansan animations are only long if you fuck up your energy, but you're not fucking up your energy with the eye on the team. You have Electro Resonance, you'll be fine. Could Yansan fuck over Wriothesley HP management? Oh, I forgot she's a healer. Fuck, no, you're right. She kind of does. Oh, fuck, you're right. Oh, what's the best Yai alternative? Play Meld. Don't play these teams without Yai. It's not gonna work out. Okay, Melt might not actually be better, but like, your alternatives are a lot worse. Dude, what could you even actually use that doesn't fuck with Wriothesley if you don't have Nicole? Sucrose, I guess? Would Sucrose give extra stack with a burst? Yeah. Maybe 1 extra stack. So Sucrose here would be... Yeah, it's still a pretty big difference, huh? So we're kind of cooked. Does that make sense? Feels like it doesn't make sense. Because I think this current iteration of John Hoyo, or of John Vodka has no shred. So this damage looks low for that. Did I fucking control Z like an idiot? Yeah, I did. I removed VV. Aww. Okay, there we go. So Sucrose would actually be better here. Assuming you can get your shred reliably. And that John Vodka doesn't give shred. If John Vodka gives a bit of shred, Sucrose is worse. Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess you're fine with Sucrose then. I guess technically, I'm probably assuming too much uptime on Sucrose EM buffs. So realistically, it will probably be basically the same in this case, and worse if there's shred on John Vodka, but still. There is a world where you aren't reliant on Nicole, but it's not guaranteed. Because I don't know if there's anything other than Nicole or Sucrose that really works. Like, I guess Shilonen is like the closest thing that would work. But Shilonen has the same problem as Sucrose, which is that if John Vodka gives shred, or the vodka set gives shred, then their value is really low. Shilonen is also +1 cost, that's true. Is there anything else that would be useful to do with this Yyless Sandrone with John Vodka? That's just gonna make everyone involved depressed. I don't think we want to do that. What happens if John Vodka doesn't enable stellar conduct reaction? The whole premise of John Vodka is that he does. We look at different versions of John Vodka, right? John Vodka as the new premium 5-star, John Vodka as the Traveler, John Vodka as like an Idloa equivalent, right? This is John Vodka as the Traveler equivalent. Like, this is basically what if John Vodka was a side grade to Chi-Chi in Sandrone's team. So a 4-star. I mean, if it's a new 4-star, it wouldn't be a side grade to Chi-Chi. It would be a significant upgrade at C6 and maybe a side grade at C0. Like, think of Chi-Chi as like Goro in Lunar teams. So we've got John Vodka is a premium 5-star for Stellar Conduct, like Linnea / Inefa / Llama. We're gonna have John Vodka is Cryo MC, a side grade to Chi-Chi. Next is gonna be John Vodka is Cryo MC, about a side grade to Chi-Chi. So I had 130%. Could also just have exactly just what Chi-Chi does. Right, that's probably fine. Although I guess technically you would have a set bonus, but hey, whatever, who cares? And then finally, John Vodka is a 4-star with a good C6 like Idloa, Yeah, that's it. That's that. Okay, so what buffs does Idloa give? Idloa gives the fucking quill buffs, which are kind of annoying to calc. And he gives a crit buff. Fuck. I mean, there's like 10k DPS of quill buffs, I guess, and like there's an EM buff that's like 80, and then there's a crit buff that's like 60 crit. So I guess I should have that. This makes sense, right? So like in the worst case scenario, which I think would be okay. This is not the worst case scenario, I think, for the health of the game, but the worst case scenario in terms of the power of John Vodka, I think would be Cryo MC. I think it would be good if John Vodka was Cryo MC, but it would be the weakest version of John Vodka that we could have. In that scenario, you wouldn't have to pull an extra character to get access to John Vodka. So if you have a Wriothesley or a Cyno lying around, getting Sandrone could be replaced by getting Wriothesley R1 or getting Cyno R1. And in both cases would be very similar to the Sandrone team. The second possibility, the one that John Vodka ends up as a premium 5-star, is this one. And in this scenario, if you have a Wriothesley or a Cyno lying around, getting John Vodka will get you a stronger team than getting Sandrone. And the third scenario is if John Vodka ends up as a 4-star like Idloa. And in that one, it's a little bit more iffy because it depends on how good the 5-star that's on banner is, on where that fits in your teams, on your account. And this one, I think, is probably the one that has the strongest argument for Sandrone being a better pull if you have Wriothesley or Cyno already, than Wriothesley or Cyno's sick. What do I get if I only have EI? If you only have EI, then you should look at this one. Because if you only have EI, then the scenario is effectively getting Sandrone is as expensive for you as getting Wriothesley or getting Cyno. And, well, Sandrone is just better. You can look at this one, but then, right, if you look at this one, you would have to compare this Sandrone bar, not this one. Right, basically, if you already have EI and no Cyno, no Wriothesley, or if when you pull for EI, you don't get Cyno or Wriothesley, you should compare the Sandrone bar to the Wriothesley and the Cyno bar. And it's consistently higher by about 15%, 10 to 15%. But if you do end up getting Wriothesley or Cyno, then instead of comparing the Sandrone bar with John Vodka, you compare the Sandrone bar without John Vodka. Because John Vodka, if it's a 5-star, would be as expensive as getting Sandrone. Or you can compare the Sandrone bar to the Wriothesley R1 and the Cyno R1 bar. And if that's what you do, then the Wriothesley R1 and Cyno R1 bar are consistently about as good, sometimes a little bit worse, sometimes a little bit better than getting Sandrone. Yeah, and if you already have Wriothesley R1 or Cyno R1, you should not get Sandrone. God. I mean, obviously, if you like her, you can just get her. Like, whatever. Who cares? That's not the point. We know this already. Just pull, got it. True. I'm too Yuri-pilled to skip her. I mean, that's fair enough. So I try getting C2 Wriothesley on Stellar Conduct banner if we find out Premium John Vodka doesn't enable the Stellar Field, and I'm forced to use Cryo MC John Vodka until Tsaritsa. If you already have C1R1, getting C2 Wriothesley is, like, definitely gonna be better than getting Sandrone. Because if you have C1R1 already, you're basically in a situation where if you did get Sandrone, your best Sandrone carry team would be similar to your best to using Sandrone as a dead slot for Wriothesley Stellar Conduct. And then if you have the patience to wait a full patch for the Stellar Enabler and to not be able to play Stellar Conduct Wriothesley on Sandrone patch, then you should not pull for Sandrone. Is it better to go from C1R1 Wriothesley to C2R1 or from C3 or 0 Cyno to C3R1? The Wriothesley gap from C1 to C2 should be higher. With C2R1 Wriothesley, would it be better to get C3 or try to get cons on the potential 5-star John Vodka? Definitely get cons on the potential 5-star John Vodka, I would say. Is that true? I mean, it's probably going to be similar. It's hard to tell. Is Yai necessary C1 or on Wriothesley? The thing about Yai is, like, Yai's C1 is very good to the point where just looking at your carry's personal damage, it's not like you can improve that carry's personal damage a lot by replacing Yai with something else. Because Yai's C1 is a pretty big support buff. So you're just losing Yai personal damage entirely and gaining basically nothing in exchange. Like, Chi-Chi is one of the premium options for these teams, and Chi-Chi is a 50% buff that has lower uptime than Yai's 50% buff. But the same situation as you, no Yai, no Wriothesley, will you go for Sandrone, although you have Cyno? I don't know. I like Sandrone. Like, she's grown on me. I don't like her that much. And, like, I really don't know. Because, like, personally, even if getting Cyno Sig is better than getting Sandrone for me, I don't give a fuck. I am not getting Cyno Sig, right? If I'm spending that many wishes on the Stellar teams, I'd rather get more options for fun than just get the strongest possible available things. But I just don't know if I want to spend that many primos on the Stellar thing. I'll definitely wait until the 7.0 leaves before making my decision.
Goose on the loose! Goose on the loose!
Who's on the loose?